I spent the whole afternoon in the kitchen, pouring my heart into a homemade lasagna. It was his favorite, layers of pasta, beef, bechamel, and my own garlic tomato sauce. I followed every step carefully, humming to myself, imagining how happy he'd be when he came home. He walked in, barely glanced at me, and sat down at the table. I served the lasagna with a smile, expecting a simple thank you, or even just a smile back. Instead, he stabbed the slice like it had offended him, took one bite, then spat it into a napkin without even trying to hide it. "This tastes like chewed cardboard served in a sock," he said, pushing the plate away like it was garbage. I stood there, frozen. My mouth opened, but no words came out. He didn't apologize, didn't explain, just turned on the TV like nothing had happened. I sat on the kitchen floor later that night, staring at the untouched lasagna, and cried silently so he wouldn't hear. It wasn't the first time he'd mocked my cooking, but it was the first time it broke something in me. He used to make jokes, calling my stew swamp soup, or saying my cookies were oven regrets. I laughed along at first, thinking it was harmless teasing, but it got worse over time. He made faces when I served food, rolled his eyes when I talked about recipes, and told his friends I was in love with my microwave. I stopped cooking for guests. I started doubting myself. Every dish felt like a test I was failing, but something about that lasagna night stuck with me. Not just the insult, but how easily he tossed aside my effort, like I was a joke, like I didn't matter. I didn't know it yet, but that was the night things started to change. Slowly, quietly. I didn't scream or pack my bags. I cleaned the dishes. I went to bed. But the next morning, I opened a blank notebook and wrote at the top, "If I ever get out of this, I will make something he'll never forget." 6 months later, I stood on a soundstage, facing a camera and a live audience. The cue card in my hand read, "Chewed cardboard served in a sock." I smiled. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party, one of those crowded, noisy house gatherings, where you cling to the snack table because you don't know anyone. He was tall, charming in that sarcastic way, and made me laugh when he pretended to rate the store-bought guac like a food critic. "Needs less lime, more sadness," he said with a straight face. I giggled. He asked for my number before the end of the night. At first, he was sweet, funny, smart, the kind of guy who could talk his way through anything and make you feel lucky just to be sitting next to him. I told him early on that I loved to cook, that someday I dreamed of opening a little cafe, just breakfast and lunch, with rotating specials and handwritten menus. He smiled, nodded, and said, "That's cute." Cute, I remember thinking. Not awesome, or "You'd be great at that." Just cute. Back then, I brushed it off. He wasn't mean about it, just skeptical. Whenever I tried a new recipe, he had something snarky to say. "This salad's got more leaves than flavor," or "Did the chicken lose a fight before it got here?" He'd laugh after, like it was all in good fun. I laughed too, but there was always this tightness in my chest, like I was waiting for a real compliment that never came. He liked eating out, trendy spots with big portions and loud music. When I suggested making dinner at home for his friends, he waved it off. "Let's not risk food poisoning, yeah?" The first time he said that, I thought he was joking. The third time, I knew he wasn't. I kept cooking anyway, tried new techniques, read cookbooks, watched cooking channels late at night. He'd pass by and smirk. "Still chasing the dream, chef?" he'd say, ruffling my hair like I was a kid pretending to be a grown-up. There was one weekend I spent hours prepping a full brunch for a few friends. Homemade waffles, fruit compote, even freshly squeezed orange juice. They loved it. I saw real delight in their faces. But afterward, when the door closed behind them, he leaned against the counter and said, "Not bad. Maybe you should open a waffle stand next to the gas station. Bet truckers would love this." That one stung more than I let on. Slowly, I stopped inviting people over. Cooking became something I did quietly when he wasn't around. Something small, safe, less ambitious. Like I was apologizing for dreaming too big. I didn't realize it at the time, but he wasn't just teasing me. He was training me to lower my expectations of myself, of what I could do, of what I should hope for, and I let him. But some part of me, buried deep beneath the doubt, was still hungry, still simmering, waiting. He convinced me to host a dinner party for his friends, people I didn't know well but wanted to impress. I planned the whole menu days in advance. Garlic rosemary lamb chops, roasted sweet potatoes, honey glazed carrots, and my grandmother's recipe for lemon tart. I cleaned the apartment, set the table with cloth napkins, even printed tiny place cards. It mattered to me, maybe too much. At first things went well. The guests arrived, wine bottles in hand, all smiles and laughter. They complimented the apartment, the smell of the food. I brought out the main course, feeling a flicker of pride as they admired the plate. He took one bite, chewed dramatically, then said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Well, it's not hospital food, but it's in the neighborhood." People laughed. That kind of unsure, polite laugh when you're not sure if it's okay to laugh. I froze, standing there with the serving spoon still in my hand. He looked at me and grinned. "Babe, I'm joking. Lighten up." I smiled back because I didn't know what else to do. The room buzzed on, but something had shifted. I caught one of his friends pushing carrots around his plate, suddenly quiet. Another asked if we had any frozen pizza, just in case. They all laughed, and I felt invisible at my own table. Later, as I was washing dishes alone, I heard him in the other room talking on the phone. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. He was just loud, careless. "No, bro, she's not bad at cooking. It's just try hard. Like she's auditioning for a cooking show nobody's watching." A pause, then laughter. Yeah, she thinks she's the next Martha. I'm just here for the lemon tart." Honestly, I stood in the kitchen, hands in soapy water, staring at the sponge like it might answer something. I didn't cry, not this time. I just finished the dishes and dried them carefully. He came in later, kissed my cheek like nothing happened, and asked if we had any beer left. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Not sad, not hurt, not even confused, just angry. A quiet, low-burning kind of rage that hummed beneath my skin like a pilot light waiting to catch. At my day job, I mostly kept to myself. I worked in the back office of a small insurance firm, filing claims, answering emails, trying not to draw too much attention. Most of the time, no one noticed what I brought for lunch, or that I always ate alone at my desk, except for Erin. She worked 2 desks down, quiet, always reading something on her break, but kind in a way that didn't feel forced. One afternoon, as I pulled out my homemade chicken couscous with lemon dill yogurt, she glanced over and said, "Wow, that smells amazing." I blinked. "Oh, thanks. Just something I threw together." She smiled. "You always say that, but your lunches look like they came from a magazine." It wasn't a big moment, not really, but no one had complimented my food like that in months, not since before him. I felt my face warm. "I like cooking," I mumbled, stabbing at my couscous. "It helps me think." Erin tilted her head. "Have you ever thought about sharing your recipes online? Like Tik Tok or something?" I laughed, shaking my head. "No one wants to watch a girl cook in a tiny apartment with bad lighting." She shrugged. "You never know. People love real stuff. You've got something real." The idea stuck with me all day. That night I sat on my couch with my old phone, scrolling through food content. Some of it was flashy, yes, but a lot of it wasn't. Just people like me, cooking in their kitchens, talking like normal humans. No fancy sets, no ring lights, just love for food. So I created a new TikTok account. No photo, no name, just at midnight apron. It felt silly, like a secret I wasn't ready to tell anyone. I filmed myself making the same couscous dish, propped the phone up with a cereal box, used my window light, added captions instead of speaking. I posted it, closed the app, went to bed. The next morning, it had 214 views, a couple of likes, one comment. "Looks so good, saving this." I stared at the screen, heart fluttering. It was small, sure, but it was something. I made another video that night, then another. Quiet, steady, late-night recordings that became the only part of my day I actually looked forward to. For the first time in a long while, I was cooking without fear, without judgment, without anyone spitting into napkins. It felt like breathing again. I hit 10,000 followers on a Thursday night. One of my videos, a simple 5-ingredient creamy pasta, had taken off. Not millions of views, but enough to bring in a steady stream of likes, comments and shares. People called my voice soothing, my recipes approachable, and someone even said watching my videos felt like a hug after a bad day. I read every comment twice. For the first time in forever, I felt proud of something that was just mine. Then he found it. I had left my phone on the couch while I went to the kitchen. He picked it up, scrolled through my notifications, and when I came back, He was watching one of my videos with the volume turned up and a smirk on his face. "What the hell is this?" he asked, not angry, amused. I froze. "You're a TikTok chef now? What, gonna start selling spice racks to housewives?" He laughed. "You really think your Walmart apron ass is gonna be famous?" I said nothing. He watched another video, mimicking my voice in a fake high-pitched tone. "Hi guys, welcome back to Midnight Apron, where I pretend boiled noodles are gourmet." I laughed, quietly, nervously, because I didn't know what else to do. But something inside me cracked again. That night, I opened the app, finger hovering over the delete button. I had the message typed out in my head already. "Hey everyone, thanks for the support, but I'm taking a break." Then a notification popped up. "At Chef Bryce Official, stitched your video." I blinked. Chef Bryce, one of the top food YouTubers, the guy I used to watch at 1 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. Millions of followers. Real talent. Real kitchens. I clicked. He had taken my creamy pasta video, watched the whole thing and said, "This right here is what home cooking should look like. No pretension, just heart. I'd eat the hell out of this." I stared at the screen, barely breathing. My hands shook as I scrolled through the new comments. People from his audience were flooding in with love, encouragement, excitement. That night, I didn't delete the account. Instead, I posted a new video, no captions this time, just my face, smiling into the camera, and a simple line, "Let's keep cooking." I saw the post by accident, one of those local event flyers someone had shared in a community Facebook group. "Casting call, amateur home cooks. Think you've got personality, passion, a signature dish? We want you for Kitchen Clash. Apply now." It was just a regional cable show, nothing fancy, low budget. A single stage setup filmed out of a converted high school auditorium, with a clunky logo and a prize that amounted to a couple $100 and culinary bragging rights. But something about it called to me. I clicked the link, half laughing at myself. The application asked for a short video intro, a recipe, and a paragraph about why I love to cook. I sat there at my kitchen table, staring at the screen. Why do you love to cook? I didn't overthink it. I grabbed my phone and recorded a 1-minute clip on the spot. Hair messy, no makeup. I just spoke honestly. Cooking makes me feel like I exist, like I can give someone something small and warm and good, even on the worst days, especially on the worst days. I sent it in, hit submit, closed the tab and forgot about it. 2 weeks later, I got the email. I read it 5 times before I believed it. "Congratulations! You've been selected as a contestant on Kitchen Clash. We can't wait to see what you bring to the table." I screamed. I spun around the apartment, nearly knocking over a chair. I was in. Me. The girl who cried over lasagna 6 months ago. I was going to be on a cooking show. I couldn't wait to tell someone. Against my better judgment, I told him. He was on the couch, scrolling his phone. I stood in the doorway, barely able to contain the smile. I got selected for that local cooking show, Kitchen Clash. I applied and I actually got in. He didn't even look up. "What's that?" I explained quickly, breathlessly, expecting maybe a small wow or even a surprised laugh. Instead, he snorted. "Cool. Have fun embarrassing yourself on local TV." That stopped me cold. I stared at him. He glanced up finally. "I mean, it's not real TV. Just don't start crying on camera when your noodles stick together." I didn't say anything. I just turned around and walked to the bedroom. But I didn't cry this time. Instead, I opened my closet, pulled out my favorite apron, soft blue cotton with tiny sunflowers along the hem, and hung it on the hook next to my door. 3 days later, I packed it into my bag and took a cab across town to a set that smelled like hot lights and powdered cheese, to meet the first producer who would ever ask me on camera, "So what are you cooking today, chef?" The producers pulled me aside just before filming my segment. "We love your vibe," one of them said, clipboard in hand. "You're calm, funny in that quiet way, but we want to give your part a little twist, something that makes it stand out." I didn't know what to say. Like, what kind of twist? Something personal, a hook, maybe a story or something that shows off your personality while you cook. I nodded slowly, and without even thinking it through, I said, "What if I read out the mean things my boyfriend says about my cooking?" The room went quiet for a second. Then another producer leaned in. "Wait, say more." I told them everything, how he always mocked my food, called my pasta soft sadness, said my salad dressing tasted like regret. They started laughing. Not at me, but at how ridiculous the insults were. "You should read those quotes like you're reading poetry," one of them said. "Dead serious. While you cook something amazing." So I did. I wore my sunflower apron and made a rosemary garlic roast chicken with roasted potatoes and a simple arugula salad. As I basted the bird, I looked straight into the camera and said, "He once told me this chicken was so dry it needed therapy." Laughter from the crew. I kept going. "Salad's looking fresh," I said, tossing greens in a bowl. Unlike the time he told me my vinaigrette had the emotional range of a canned bean. I plated everything like a pro and ended the segment with, "And remember, if your partner says your food belongs in a prison cafeteria, just serve it with a smile and a side of revenge." That clip went everywhere. By the next morning, it had over 500,000 views online. Someone on Twitter turned my quotes into memes. A food blogger wrote, "She weaponized his insults and turned them into seasoning." I gained 30,000 followers overnight. People started calling me the petty chef. Strangers messaged me, thanking me for saying what they were too scared to say out loud. And his words, the ones meant to tear me down, they became my signature. Funny thing was, he had no idea yet, but he would. He found out 2 days after the clip went viral. I came home to him standing in the living room, arms crossed, phone in hand, his face red with a mix of confusion and disbelief. "You made me the joke," he snapped, holding up his phone with my video playing on loop. "You used my words to go viral." I dropped my bag by the door and shrugged. "You said them." He paced like a man trying to convince himself he was still in control. "You wouldn't have a brand without me. I'm the one who pushed you, challenged you." "Mocked me," I corrected. "You mocked me for months." He waved it off. "Whatever. Point is, people love it. That's because of me. So I think it's only fair we split whatever you're making now. Brand deals, followers. I should get a cut." I stared at him. Then I burst out laughing. "You want royalties for being an asshole?" "I'm serious," he said, voice rising. "You used my quotes. That's my intellectual property." I laughed harder. "Oh, are you going to copyright tastes like sock water? Be my guest." He didn't find it funny, but the internet sure did. I told the story in my next video, keeping it vague, but the tone was clear. Someone who once told me to stay out of the kitchen is now asking for half my apron. Weird how confidence shows up once there's money. The comments section exploded. People stitched it, reenacted it, turned it into sound clips. Someone even animated a cartoon version of him banging on a microwave, yelling, "Where's my 50%? He became a meme, a running joke. The bitter ex who accidentally built the very thing he tried to destroy. And then the producers called again. "We want you back," the lead producer said, "but not for another episode. We're developing a full show, your own format, more dishes, more quotes, more you." I sat on my couch, staring at the phone, stunned. They flew me out for a pilot taping. Bigger studio, full kitchen setup, real cameras. I opened the show with a monologue over a pot of simmering stew. "Some men season with salt. Mine seasoned me with insults. Let's make something better than bitterness today." By the end of the taping, the crew was clapping. The audience was cheering. The comment section flooded with heart emojis, recipe requests, and people saying they felt seen. And him, he sent me a text that night. "Hey, this whole thing's getting big. Maybe we should talk, clear the air, for the cameras." I didn't reply. I just posted a photo of the show's logo on my feed with a single caption, "Now I'm the main course." I was doing an Instagram Q&A, sitting at my kitchen counter with a glass of red wine, answering questions from followers about the show, my favorite recipes, and what kind of garlic I used, fresh, always. Then someone asked, "Are you still with your boyfriend?" I hadn't planned to say anything, but something in me was done pretending. I sipped my wine, smiled at the camera, and said, "No, I'm not." I packed up, moved out, and left the microwave man behind. He didn't grow with me, he just got bitter when I started blooming. The comments blew up, heart emojis, clapping gifs. Someone wrote, "You dumped him like an overcooked potato, queen." I took another sip of wine and winked at the screen. The next morning, I signed a partnership deal with a spice company, small batch, women-owned, and they wanted me to help develop a seasoning line under the Midnight Apron label. I'd name them after dishes he once insulted. Cardboard chicken became a zesty paprika rub. Sad salad turned into a bright lemon herb blend. People loved it. The show got renewed a week later. Then a call came in from LA. A daytime talk show wanted me on as a guest. They flew me out, gave me a dressing room with my name on the door, and let me cook live on air while telling the story of how I turned his insults into inspiration. After the segment, the host hugged me and said, "You've got something special. Don't let anyone talk you out of it again." I was still in the airport when his name popped up on my phone. So, are we cool? Maybe I overreacted. Congrats on the show, though. I stared at the message for a second. No anger, no sadness, just the dry amusement you feel when someone finally realizes what they lost far too late. I didn't respond. Instead, I snapped a photo of the envelope I'd just opened, an early letter from the TV Academy, notifying me that Midnight Apron was being considered for a regional Emmy nomination. I sent the photo, no caption, just the gold seal, the name of the show, and my name typed neatly beneath it. He didn't reply. The lights were warm, soft, and golden. The studio kitchen was quiet except for the gentle bubbling of sauce and the soft clink of a spoon against the side of a pot. I stood behind the counter, hands steady, apron on, smiling as the cameras rolled. "Today's dish," I said, "is something close to my heart, a full circle kind of meal." The crew knew. The producers knew. Even the host smiled knowingly from the other side of the kitchen island, because this wasn't just any recipe. It was the lasagna, the one I made on that night, months ago, when everything fell apart. The one he spat out. The one he called chewed cardboard served in a sock. Only this time, it wasn't sadness in the sauce. It was experience. Layers of homemade pasta, a slow-cooked ragu, creamy bechamel, and a blend of cheeses aged just right. I'd tested it a dozen times to make sure it was perfect. The host leaned in as I pulled it from the oven. The top was bubbling, browned in just the right places. The smell rich and comforting. He took a bite. He closed his eyes, then opened them, a little glossy. "I've eaten in restaurants all over the world," he said quietly. "But this is exceptional. This tastes like care, like purpose." I didn't say anything for a second, just smiled. Then I looked straight into the camera. "This one's for the man who once said I'd never make it," I said, "who told me my food was garbage, who laughed at my apron and mocked my dreams. Turns out," I picked up a clean plate, served another perfect square of lasagna, and set it down with a soft clink. "I made dinner," I said, pausing just long enough for the camera to zoom in. "And a career." The audience clapped. The crew nodded. The host raised his fork in salute. Later, off camera, someone from the network told me they were putting together a full season of Midnight Apron and wanted me to help pick the themes. I smiled, thinking of all the dishes he'd once torn down. Every one of them was now a stepping stone. I didn't need to hear from him again. I didn't need his approval, but I hoped, just a little, that he was somewhere near a screen when that episode aired, sitting alone, probably eating takeout, watching me serve the dish he tried to destroy, now praised by millions. And maybe, just maybe, that lasagna finally stuck in his throat.